Afternoon everyone, welcome back to Pommyinoz, and we're doing Pommy's review on the wonderful win for the Blue Boys versus North. If you are new around here, please drop a like and a subscribe. We've just smashed over 250. If we can get to 300, we've only got 5 days left. That would be absolutely sick. Really do appreciate all the love and support. Means the world to me. And what we're doing is we're going to go through the North game, my thoughts. We know that we always do it just at the end of every game. We know Carlton, for those who are new around here, are a huge part of my life. Probably one of the biggest, don't tell the wife. And yeah, we got the win. So I've gone into this supremely confident. And we know that I get a lot of stick for it. There's a lot of people going out there that I'm like kind of an omen when I say we win, we'll lose. But I'll say we'll win every week pretty much within reason. And I thought it was a real professional performance, first of all. And I wanted to spend 5 minutes just about going over why I am confident. It's not a bravado, it's not for likes, it's not for shares, none of that garbage. I kind of hold myself a little bit differently, and I've always been consistent. I've always been heavily critical of this club and heavily passionate when we win. And for me, I think when you look at the stats, there's simple telltale signs. People talk about the age, but let's be honest, our age profile is no longer the youngest in the comp. It's the 14th. And the most important stat you look at is games played. As a group of these guys, even if you take Simpson out, they are top 12. So they're right in the median. If you have Simpson there, we're the 9th most experienced side in the comp. That is a premiership window we're talking about. You can't look at age, you look at experience. And these boys, they get the job done. It's always been a case of the system they play. I thought the first quarter it showed our system. Very quick ball movement, very fast counter-attack. North looked like they couldn't handle it at times. And I know that I predicted a minimum of 30. It should have been. Based on the thirst, we absolutely rolled over them. There was no competition. Then, obviously, North Melbourne did what North Melbourne do. They play the man, not the ball. And we do struggle with that, I think. I think there isn't enough toughness in the group yet. That's something that's a learned skill. And it's also inherent. But there isn't a lot of players that are willing to get down and dirty. And North are. They don't have the skill set a lot of our players do, but they do have the thugged approach. And amazingly, this game is won on the basis of kicking for goal, not being a complete pleb. Because if that was the case, North would probably be world champions, because Jed Anderson probably is the most odious individual I've ever seen. As a Pom, I do find it quite a tough pill to swallow to see someone who thinks they're tough wearing a man bun. What the hell is that about? God, this generation, it's going downhill fast. But that being said, we did it well. Cripper did really well under big circumstances. Jed Anderson, he was there to annoy. He did annoy. And let's talk on a few things first before we get into the game. Umpiring is becoming a joke. And coming from England, we're not bred to give respect to the refs or the umpires. And I think historically it's earned. Respect is earned from umpires and refs and officials. You earn it. And to me, that's the way you should be in life anyway. No one gets respect straight away. They earn it. And for me, it's complete. It is a joke. To be honest, I was fuming. I wasn't stressed in the fourth at all. I always knew we were going to win that. And that is a turning point for me mentally. I just know we're going to win. I have a belief. I think the only thing that can beat Carlton this year is ourselves. But I think if they play their game, they stand a chance against any side in this comp. And a lot of them, they should beat. But that umpiring is a joke. And to me, when it's wet, you put the whistle away. You look at how Cripps was treated off the ball. Some of them blocks were a joke. Some of them deliberate out of bounds were... I mean, it's not a tough job to get the basics right. There wasn't a big enough crowd there to intimidate an umpire. And my argument is with umpires is they sign up to a job. They sign up to a job. They know they're going to get abuse. And if they can't handle that abuse, KFC are always employing. McDonald's are always employing. Coles are always employing. There is always other jobs. And that's not to downgrade KFC. You've got a good mate who has KFC. But what I'm saying is there is always jobs available to you. If you're not fit to do that job, don't do it. So it seems to happen to Carlton a lot. And I'm not one for using umpires as an excuse, because I do firmly believe poor decisions even themselves out, but it is seemed to be a repeating cause. So if there is umpires there watching this, sort yourselves out, yeah? Because you are heavily protected in this country. You probably shouldn't be, but you are heavily protected. Do your job. It ain't that hard. Come on. It ain't that hard. Old adage, put the whistle away when it's wet. I mean, some of them were a joke. But I mean, let's get on to the game. I think our game plan moving forward is really spectacular. I think we've got a lot of individuals there who really do complement just how Teague, his philosophy, his game set into it. I think Wheater's ability to intercept mark and lock down a forward is just on another time zone. Usually when Ben Brown gets an early mark and an early goal, he's off. But Wheater kept that bad run of luck for Ben Brown going. He's an absolute ox down the back. I think Walsh is coming into it. He's really starting to show what he's all about. I think that wing role with Murphy on the other wing is really complementing both of their game styles. I do see a lot of vintage Murph in Walsh, and I think his ceiling is going to be a hell of a lot higher than Murph's was, and we know how good Murph was in the early 10s, which makes me feel old saying. But I mean, all in all, it's all coming together. Let's go through the individual players. I mean, I thought Lockie Plowman was absolutely exemplary. He gets a lot of hate, and we know that I always stick up for the old Lockster. I've got a soft spot for him. And he made Zerhal look amateurish at times. And it's amazing with Plowman. His role is so selfless for this football club. He doesn't get the big numbers because he's doing his job. He's stopping someone else getting big numbers. And in this game, we've seen it quite a lot. All it takes is one or two players to have the blinder, and it's game over. And it's always good seeing Plowman on someone because you know that's going to be locked down. Wheaters, for me, is the best defender of the competition. I know this week we've still got Harris Andrews to play, but for me, I think Wheaters is equal, easy. For me, everything he does, his positioning, his movement, his ability to distribute is phenomenal. He is elite already. He is like book that away, all Australian. Simmer, again, another decent game from Simmer. What you see is what you get with Simmer, and it was steady. I think his ability to his second and third efforts this week were really prevalent. When it was wet and greasy, if the ball couldn't be taken in possession, he kept fighting. He made it tough to get, and I thought he gave North Melbourne real problems with his exit out of defensive 50. Doc, it was his quiet game by Doc standards, but I mean, his influence is kind of understated. Even when he doesn't get the big numbers, his ability to distribute, his ability to control, and I think just his inner persona. I thought it was a good game from Doc. It wasn't blinding, but congratulations on 100, and let's hope we get another 200 from him. Absolute phenomenal footballer. Liam Jones, there was a bit of question marks. I don't like the way he plays back shoulder and he backs his pace. It does kind of play into a good forward strength. We know Charlie Dixon gave him havoc the week before, but it was steady. His ability to get the fist on the ball, his ability just to really calm things down, and obviously as centre half back and full back score, I think Wheater and Jones were a very good combo. SPS, I thought this was again another return to form for SPS. His distribution is elite. That 45-degree kick, his ability to set up transition, real understated. I know he cops a lot of abuse from rival fans and our own at times, but in that position, very few players get 30, and the ones that do, who get 25s and 30s, are Lloyds and Lairds, who have got the defensive capabilities of a wet fish, man. I mean, like, you can't have it both ways. And for me, I thought defensively going back, he was good. He laid the tackle, he made pressure, and I thought it was solid. Walsh, boy oh boy, is he starting to live up to the hype that I gave him. Always do fearful. I know I make a lot of Poms big calls, but when I do pump a player up, statistically they do go downhill. It's good to see him come back. Honestly, this wing roll, starting to get there. He's starting to find that entry inside 50. That's starting to get cleaner. He's starting to get the confidence. His ability to get the ball, and he's one of these few players in the comp that's a bit like Pendles, in the terms that they seem to have a lot more time on the ball than they do. And for me, we're in capable hands. I know that there's a lot of conjecture of was pick one right. I'm going to be honest, there may be better players who are more damaging in that draft, but he was the right pick for this football club. And he's going to be a 300 gamer, and he's a solid footballer. He's going to be one of he'll be top 3 in that draft, no doubt, when you redo it. But he's phenomenal. I'd take his consistency over Rosie's excellence. Cripper, let's talk about Cripper. I'll tell you what, off the ball, the stuff that happens to Cripps, it just proves why when people complain about, like we've had Papley being complained about, Kane Cornes complained about Murphy taking the dive. You can see why they do it, and I have this argument with people about soccer. If you're a tough player, you don't get protection. If you don't moan about it, umpires don't pay it. Officials always look for an easy out, anything for an easy life. And you can see with Cripps, he never complains about anything, he just gets on with it. But I'll tell you what, Jed Anderson is a thug. He's an absolute thug. And for me, some of them blocks, some of them shepherds, the constant holding the jersey. There was about 10 times I counted that when a centre bounce happened, Cripps had his wrists held. I mean, I don't want to keep harping on about the umpires, but it ain't our job. There's three of them. Like, if one of you can't see it, you need to go to Specsavers. Sort it out. Cripper though, endeavour, hustled, worked hard all day. One thing I love about Cripper, and this is what I worry about him, if we don't start protecting him and the umpires don't start paying it, I won't blame him for one day going up to centre bounce and just clocking the bloke. And it's going to happen because you can see he's starting to get more frustrated. It's commendable that he doesn't lose his temper, but for me, enough's enough. I love a tag, I love a wind-up, but for me, look at all the other taggers, when De Boer does it, when Ed Kerner does it, frees get paid against them because it's the nature of the beast. It's an absolute aberration that Cripper isn't protected. It's an aberration. Murph, again, class. Going now on the wing. I love Murph. Absolutely love him. I think he's just showing it every week. That reliability, that steady approach. And for me, it's just solid. He's a very, very sensible footballer. Very solid footballer. Just easy days. Jack Martin, again, probably class at hand. First two quarters, it felt like he'd had a ton on him to win Mark of the Year. But I like that. I like the fact that he's getting the confidence. He's really going for it. For me, I think moving forward, that's a good sign for this football club, that he wants to get his eye in. That is huge for this club. He does look like a game changer, and all the top teams have game changers. And for me, he is a game changer. I can't speak highly enough of Jack Martin. I think he's class by foot, by hand. Set shots were a little bit iffy this week, but I'm willing to let it go because this guy can kick 3 behind, then the next week kick 6 goals. Phenomenal footballer. Really excited to see where this guy goes because this guy is the kind of guy that will win a Norm Smith in grand final day. Kazi wasn't probably his best day at his office. He competed well, he looked to make contests. Thought he got bumped off the ball quite easy, but I mean that's just me being pedantic and harsh. Thought he competed well. Gibbo started the game electric. I'm really enjoying. You can see him and Betts have been working together a lot in training and starting to see these wonderful X-factor moments. I think he hustles well. His pressure acts are elite. He always looks to make something happen. And he's got a will to will himself back into the game. I think that's what I really like about him. He wills himself in. Betts, another quiet day at the office. You would expect in the way this is probably where Betts comes to the fore. I thought they did quite a good job on him, but I thought what Betts does is he creates anxiety. You can see it when Betts is there. He creates indecision and he frees up the ground for a lot of other players. And I thought he serviced as well. Okay, he didn't have any goals, but his movement was good. He presented well, and just one of them games for Eddie. I thought what he offered off the stat sheet was enough for me to be happy with his game. I think he's one of them players that, you know, if he doesn't impact it on the scoreboard, he impacts it in the minds of the defenders. Callum Moore, tough first game out really for him, going up against Goldstein and then going up against Tarrant. It's tough times for any player making their debut for a club and a new club at that. But I mean, it was a bit of a nothing game. I didn't see really anything for me that suggests going forward this is long term. I know it's the first game and I would like to see him again just to make a better judgment. But for me, he didn't really compete well in the air. He didn't really compete well on the ground. I mean, yeah, it didn't look great. Tough circumstances though. It's not the best thing. I was, like I say, I was surprised about that selection. But I don't pick the team. McGovern, there was signs at the start that he looked up for it. There was a few, you know, like when he comes charging in and bumps someone. He got injured. It's hard. But I mean, for me, probably a benefit in disguise because the weather got worse and worse and worse. So we went a bit smaller, which helped us out. Hopefully he's all right for next week. I mean, but obviously I think what we really did miss is it just shows how important McKay is to that system. His ability to do the unthinkable and mark is exceptional. Pitternet, I never lost faith, and I said that I backed him to bounce back. And one thing I love about Pitt is his second and third efforts. If you watch Blue Abroad's analytical corner that I do, I said it's all about stifling Goldstein and winning 30-40% and you'll win the battle in the long run. He was phenomenal. He did that really well. His second, third and fourth efforts are so good. He doesn't let Goldstein get that clean possession. And it was a very, very good return to form. He's not going to be a guy that I don't think is going to set the world alight, but I think what he's always going to do is he's always going to give you that shift, and it really helped the boys out. Ed Kerno again, him and Set as a combination are becoming spectacular. He really did a job on Simkin. Simkin was anonymous through the start of the game, which was no surprise because at the start of the week, evidently Simkin was going for surgery, miraculously lined up for him. But Ed Kerno will have made him wish he'd gone for surgery because he absolutely gave him a bath. Setterfield is becoming real important. The amount of clearances he's attending now, the amount of centre bounces, he's attending now are absolutely out of this world. He is the adversary of Cripps. He really is becoming that combination. And it's exciting to see because he uses the ball well, he's tough to it, and he uses that frame really well. Bam Bam was spectacular again. Really enjoying Bam Bam's game. I love the way that he seems to slot as well in that forward line. It gives us a real option. He does really well at his off-ball work as well, shepherding for others. I saw a few times. He helped Leeds out. He helps Cripper out. He helps Ed out, and he helps Setterfield out when he's on the ball. Phenomenal, valuable asset. Cunners was exemplary in the fourth. Won us the game. Think how clean he is. It's this X factor. It's a bit like Martin. You can take the 20 minutes of nothing for that 5 minutes of perfection. Willow, again, his numbers aren't there for me, which I know what everyone looks at, but for me, I think what he does, his intensity and his drive he brings is phenomenal. He doesn't look like he's going to be beaten, and I love the fact you watch him and you can see he wants to win. There's a fight, there's a desire there, and for me, he's getting better and better. I think he's cleaning up his disposal. He looks to take the game on. And I'm excited about Willow. He's starting to, for me, tick that box from where its potential to its application. And I'm enjoying it. Noons still gets the hate from Carlton fans. But, I mean, playing as a wingman that can go back and then forward and kick 2 snags. I mean, he's had, 5 in 8? What do you want? What do you want? That's elite numbers. He's doing well. He had that moment of madness where he played ping pong with Willow, but aside from that, he competes well. He's tough. He's dynamic. He can play about 8 positions. If he's not in your 22, I question who you'd put there, because if you put Lockie O'Brien or Fisher, they can't do that. He can play 4 roles, and for me, is he in our best 22? Probably not on paper, but the way he's playing, yes, I'm enjoying it. All in all, it was a tough game, and I feel like I was probably the only person in this great country of ours who wasn't nervous. Thought it was a professional performance, and for me, they've really turned a corner. For me, I would implore anyone who watches this and who's a Carlton fan, get behind these boys. They're ready. They're here now. There is no excuse. There is no growing. There is no development. That is the nature of the beast as champions. You grow, you develop, you overtake, and you stay in front. For me, that's normal. Now these guys can compete and do them a service and believe in them, because they were a wonderful bunch of blokes. And for me, they're playing for their lives. They're playing for this football club. It's phenomenal to be happy and do this to you. It was a good professional performance. We now move on to the Hawks. And for me, when Clarkson's talking about players taking a dive, umpires, blooming, the grass isn't green enough, that's a sign that he's worried as well. He's panicking. He's got no answers. It's going to be a tough game against Hawthorn, though, because they're a champion side. I'd love to call them a Mickey Mouse club or something, but they might be playing like Mickey Mouse at the moment, but I tell you what, they're Steamboat Willie back in the day. They're a good side, good outfit, and Clarkson's no mug. Be a tough game, but I back these boys in, and honestly, heed my words, the only thing that can beat us is ourselves, I think now. I think these boys are mentally ready, and they're learning every time, and they look accomplished. They can play football. So give them what they need. Big shout out to Queensland. Big shout out to Riley Starray, Hegarty, and all you lot. You guys did a wonderful job with that. Over to John Allen in WA. I know you're just as passionate and ferocious as them guys. Cheer these boys home, because these boys, they're going places. And you know what? They're taking us with them. Let me know who was your best on ground. What did you enjoy? Were you nervous or were you like me, laid back? Big shout out to Debbie, who I was just as calm as, who will attest that I was as calm as cucumber, and Lana Owens, who attest that I was calm in the fourth. Have a wonderful week, guys. I'll see you this week. We've got some exciting things coming up. Pom out.